Shake, 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 Sinora, shake it all the time.
When you add a shake of Frank's Red Hot, you open a world of better. A world where wings bring out the flavor of game day any day. Where buffalo chicken dip takes any party up a notch. And where any slice of pizza instantly becomes the world's best slice of pizza. At least until the next slice. Bring every bite to life with the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot. I put that shit on everything.
Guys, what's good? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today, this is going to be an episode for the episodes. It's the last episode of the year, and I have so much to just share, unpack with you guys that I think will help you moving forward into this next year, into the years following, and just in general. Because, you know, the glow up, the grind, the healing, it doesn't start just because the clock strikes 12. Okay? There are so many components that are necessary in our healing journey, and intricacies and nuances and blind spots. All these things are very important as we heal. So we're going to get into that big time. Thank you for the listeners. This is for you guys who have truly taken the time to review this podcast, leave a rating for this podcast. It's been helping it grow. I can't stress that enough. Like it takes a couple of seconds, but it's literally a permanency that goes with you guys taking time out of your day to do that. So shout out to Shay. Shout out to Delta Girl for the love that you guys have shown. And yeah, like I said, it's a beautiful thing for me to read, but more importantly, it shows other people what this podcast means and how it works. So thank you. And if you haven't done so, head on over to iTunes, leave a rating, leave a review. It helps. And this podcast has been growing because you guys have taken the time to do that. Yeah, so we're just gonna go into it. So if you're driving, look, this podcast you'll want to go back to, and it's gonna be here. And if you're at home, this time, seriously, grab a pen and paper, or grab your computer, grab your phone notes, whatever the case, grab something to take notes, because I'm going to be breaking down different components that are going to be so beneficial to you moving into the next year. It's like a cheat sheet or a study guide, if you will. That's what this episode is going to be about. And applicable practical practices for you guys to use to just grow and heal and just be the best version of yourself. Okay, so we're going to do that. Get some water, light a candle. I need to light a candle. And just get ready, all right? Stay tuned. Oh, if you're driving, put on a damn seatbelt. Stay tuned. Guys, what's good? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. How's your holiday? How's your holiday if you celebrate? How was that for you? I know it was weird in the ethers, right? Like some people, and that's the thing about the holidays. I think as you get older, you realize like the veil is lifted, or your life changes, like circumstances changes, and that's okay, right? That is okay to not have the hallmark version of a holiday. It's all good, and I want you guys to be very mindful of that truth, Like your truth is just as valid as anyone else's. Okay. So when I was thinking about this podcast episode, like what it was going to be about, how to really make it one for the year. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just go through the things, right? Let's just go through the big things, I think, that are big focal points for a lot of people. We talk about love, we talk about finances, we talk about our physical health. What about your mental health? How many people say, well, into the new year, I'm going to take care of my mental health. Into the new year, I'm going to be better about my mental health, right? I know for years, people, and I think even I said it, it's like, oh, this new year, I'm moving into the new year, new me. I'm cutting everybody off for it. It's like, okay, that's cool. But at the end of every year, that's the same verbiage. And when does that stop, right? So I'll start there. So let's say you are your home. You are your home, right? And let's say that you have a garden. That garden is a part of your home. And you kind of maintain the garden, right? You cut away at the weeds or whatever, but you don't pull the weeds. So they keep growing. And every year you have the same garden. And every year you go and just pull, or you cut away at the weeds, but you never truly pull them out. And that's the thing about, new year, new me. It's like, well, it's a new year, but old wounds that haven't been tended to. So how do you tend to those? Well, our external relationships are a reflection of our internal relationship. So the only way to stop repeating a cycle, break the cycle, right? I'm going to just let this rock. If you guys hear a rooster, it's my neighbor's rooster. That's something new. But in terms of no longer repeating a cycle of relationships, take the responsibility off of other people to love you the way you need to be loved, right? Because that prevents you from doing the necessary work that you need to do. And it's hard work. Self-love is hard work. Self-care is hard work. Self-acceptance is hard work. The reason being is because you are always met with doubt that you are programmed to believe about yourself. It's constant work. It's exhausting, but it's worth it, right? Because once you do have a solid relationship with yourself, you can see what your habits are. You can see how you move through relationships. You can see the dynamic that exists in your relationships. That's very repetitive, right? And then there's cut culture, where it's like people are just like, yeah, I'm cutting this person off. I'm cutting this person off. I'm cutting this person off. Cut. And that in itself isn't always healthy. The truth of the matter is this. I am the type of person where it's like it's nuanced, because I don't think there's room for everybody to sit at your table, and it shouldn't be. If you take pride in the table that you set and the table that you build, it's important to have discernment. It's important to have standards in terms of what your relationships look like and who's allowed to be a part of that space. It's very important. And you can also love people from a distance and not have them in your life. I want to make that very clear. That's very possible. There are people I'll probably never have a relationship with moving forward, but I still have love for them. I wish them well. I want the best for them. And that, I want you to be clear of, is also a component of what love actually is. Love is not conditional. Tolerance is, though. Love is unconditional. And like I said, we are made to connect have connection and community in relationships, which is why I always say it's like your goal is not to hate somebody before you love yourself. Like hating someone is not the green light or permission to start loving yourself. No, you love yourself now so you understand what kind of love you're on the receptive end of. And you can love somebody before you can remove yourself from a situation or a relationship before you even begin to resent somebody, right? You have to decide what is healthy for you, what your threshold looks like. And if you have a high pain tolerance, the likelihood is you probably endure a lot more than maybe you should, right? And other people may know or see that, but you don't. Okay? But there's also a level of accountability there in cutting people off. My goal moving forward is to have a lot more uncomfortable conversations when they're necessary. Now, I had a few this year. Don't get me wrong. I've had a few uncomfortable conversations this year. And the end result was me understanding that, okay, I was speaking up for myself without expecting the other person to change. And that's the thing, too. When you speak about something that's on your heart, understand that it's not in hopes that you are accepted, that you are even understood. It's the simple fact that you are advocating for yourself. And the goal is to not demand that somebody changes because you speak up. Communication is communication. The important component of communication is comprehension. You have no control over whether or not somebody understands what you're saying. All you can do is be clear. All you can do is have conviction. Okay? That's all you're in charge of. So moving forward, when these conversations have opportunity to arise, speak your piece. And the goal is not to hurt the other person or cut away at them. It's just simply saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. And you move from there. Like I said, this year, I learned to really trust myself more because what I felt was very much valid. Okay. And it felt better after I had those conversations or after I reevaluated that relationship. I feel much better. I have no regrets, right? And that's what I think is important about the cut culture or people that are readily cut people off. And ask yourself, what is that rooted in? Cutting someone off, what exactly is that rooted in? You know, is it the prevention of no longer feeling that pain? Is it like a trauma response? This is how I deal with things that are too emotionally charging for me to kind of like exist in? Or do I have poor communication skills? You know, do I not have the emotional intelligence to actually process what's happening and what's going on? Like I said, everything is nuanced. You know, there are certain people I've removed from my life and I'm like, I was very aware of why. And they were very aware. I made them aware. You know, and sometimes people do what they do because they don't feel the need to adjust. And that's also another component. There's so many layers, right? But I want you, the listener, to be aware of the why behind the what. If you're going to remove people from your life, ask yourself why. Do you have a clear understanding of why? Have you potentially communicated that? Do you value the relationship to actually have that discussion? Okay, what's your trauma system set up like? Do you fear rejection, so you remove them first, right? It's like, before you have the chance to hurt me, I'm going to remove you before I get hurt. That's also important to understand too. Trauma is an interesting thing, right? And our doubts and our fears show up in very, very interesting ways. And that's one of them. It's like, let me reject this situation before you have the chance to reject me. It's kind of like, I'm going to beat you to the punch. So be mindful of that, right? Be mindful of that as you journey on. Another thing is stop expecting you from other people. A huge one. That is a huge one, and it's going to save you so much frustration, ambiguity, pain, disappointment. Stop expecting you from people. Before I move any further, So one thing I do, I don't have New Year's resolutions. I just choose a word. This year, my word was permission. I gave myself permission. Gave myself permission to just be me and speak more with conviction, say things out loud, talk about my experiences in a way that could potentially help someone else, and just stand on that. And now here we are, right? I don't do resolutions because I think when we have resolutions, and I'll get back to this relationship stuff in a second, but I wanted to say this. When we have resolutions, it puts us in this box of absolutes, right? And when we have resolutions, we remove the reality that we are humans with patterns, behaviors, history, years and years and years of programming. That is our makeup. And to think that overnight, all of that's just going to change and we're just going to be phenomenal. These new creations that we envision is really setting yourself up for actual failure, right? Actual failure. And that's why you kind of bottom out so quickly, because you're not taking into account who you are now. You're not appreciating the work of you up until this point. You're not recognizing who you are in this moment. You're just looking for yourself to be different. Okay. So pick a word. Pick a word. Like sit on it. Let it come to you. My words always come to me. I'm grateful for that. I love some intuition, but my words just pop up, and that becomes my path for the year. Because I even forgot that I had chose a word. I was like, oh man, I didn't choose a word this year. And I was like, wait, no, my word was permission. And I said on that, like in all aspects of this year, I gave permission for me to feel a little bit more, say what I felt, right? I gave myself permission to not be the go-to for everything and everyone. Because I didn't have the capacity to do so. And that's okay. Right? I gave myself permission to show up and really just like achieve some goals. I fucking became an author this year on my own, self-published author. And I learned as I went. Everything I needed to know about writing a book, I learned as I was writing my book. I didn't wait for a perfect moment. I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And that's just what it's going to be. And I did that. And here we are. First book written, published. And I've never done that. Up until I'd say a couple of years ago, I never even considered writing a book. The idea of writing a book seemed very daunting to me because I didn't know what that was. But I tell you what, I am a completely different person this year than I was the year before because I gave myself permission to be. So pick a word. Pick a word, dude, and it's just one word, and just plant that seed and let it grow. And you just move through life with that word in mind, okay? So back to the relationship stuff. Stop expecting you from people. My mom said that to me a couple of years ago, and it hit in such a way. I was like, okay. Because I was like, I don't really have expectations of people. My biggest expectation is just like, look, don't do any fuck shit. Don't be shady. Let loyalty be your driving force, and healthy loyalty, not just like if I'm doing some dirty stuff or I'm being shady or I'm not being genuine, I still expect you to be loyal to. No. I'm saying be loyal. Be a loyal person. Have some integrity. Show up when it's not convenient for you. Don't let our relationship be based off of terms and conditions and what you gain from it. Those are my expectations. But what I've come to realize is not everybody operates on those same principles. And that's cool, right? That's all good. It's good for me. The reason why is because I have no say in how they move. I just have say in how they move in my life, or where I keep them in my life. Okay. So stop expecting you from people. If you're one of those people who goes through life thinking that the world is going to be kind to you just because you're a kind person, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not the case. Okay? So moving into the new year, let go of that. You can have standards for your life. Like, sustain your standards and meet your own standards, but stop expecting you from other people. And you're going to be so much better. The reason why is because now when it comes to not taking things personal, I know people say, all the time, don't take things personal. In other words, don't take somebody else's personals. Don't take those with you. Okay? Hold on to your personal belongings. Hold on to your views, your principles, your non-negotiables. Hold on to those things. Yes, absolutely. Hold on to those things. But don't take other people's stuff personal. Don't take other people's personals. Okay. And that's a big game changer. I'm just writing this down. Yeah, this is going to be one of those episodes. I'm going to just kind of be real and start and stop as much as possible. But write that down. Stop expecting you from people. On top of that, stop overextending yourself. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. Love is not a challenge or a competition. Love is constant. If you find yourself overextending, ask yourself, are you trying to manipulate a situation in hopes that somebody loves you? In hopes that somebody likes you? In hopes that somebody sees you and thinks that you're great and thinks that you're this? If you have the capacity to love, we all do, right? Hate is a learned behavior. Dislike is a learned behavior. I think even envy and jealousy are all love behaviors. Learned behaviors, love behaviors. So overextending ourselves is this programming that kind of centers on proving that you are deserving and you have to earn somebody's care, somebody's appreciation, affection, and value for you. I'm going to tell you right now, think about a early friendship or a relationship, right? Before you knew this person, they weren't in your ethers, right? And then when you met them, immediately you were like, hey, I like this person. I like this person to the capacity that I care about them to some degree. And then as time went on, you learned to care about them even more. You continue to care about this person just because, in theory, just because you wanted to establish a relationship with them. And maybe they were doing certain things that were unhealthy, or maybe they were healthy for you, and a relationship evolved, right? That's because that's your natural mode of operation, is connection. All right? Love is not work. It shouldn't feel like work. Overextending yourself is you working at love. And that's not what that is. Okay? Stop overextending yourself and you are going to feel so much better about who you are. The reason why is because you won't be working or feel that you have to work to be approved by others. You're just going to be you. Get in the habit of learning who you are. And I mean that. Take your time. If I'm not doing all these things for everybody, what do my relationships look like? Because if you're not overextending yourself, you probably won't be as resentful. I know a lot of us probably hold like this resent in our heart, or this bitterness where it's like, well, I did this, and this, or this is how I show up and no one shows up for me, or I haven't had people show up for me. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. This year, there were times where I was at my absolute lowest and there were very few people there to show up for me. Like, very few. And that's cool because I'm still here, right? And I did have people show up. But what that did for me was remind me, hey, when you're at your lowest, you have nothing to offer. People that value you are still going to value, right? And sometimes it takes that. It takes not having much to give and literally being ill, right? To see what your relationships look like and what they stand on. And granted, everybody else has things going on, right? We are not the center of anybody's world. We are only responsible for our world. But everybody is pouring into their relationships that they value, when they value, and whatever the case may be. And sometimes, like I said, you are not somebody else's priority. And once you understand that, you now have choice. You have choice. You have discernment. You have perspective, right? And you can move with that. It's okay to balance out your relationships. And it doesn't have to be any animosity behind it or whatever the case may be. But if you find yourself working and chasing and running after relationships and you just always feel like you're kind of shortchanged, that's information. What is this relationship actually if I'm not the one that's kind of doing and giving my all to sustain it? That's you working. That's literally you trying to force a relationship that may not be that great or may not be your top tier. Okay, may not be what actually you need. You think you need it because you're used to that kind of runner chaser dynamic, but in reality, that's not a relationship for you that's healthy. If you want things to change, you have to start changing who you are. Like change the components, the blind spots, recognize them. Be very mindful of what your relationships look like. Okay? And go from there. I promise you, things are going to change. Once you make those little changes and you stop overextending yourself. And I'm not saying be, bitter or whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is give people the room to be in your life the way they want to be in your life. And what I mean by that is treat yourself like a company, right? You have these people in senior positions who are really just interns. And I talked about that earlier this year. Intern behavior. But you have them in senior positions. You have them as board of directors. And they don't have the capacity to be in those spaces. And they could be interns, right? Someone doesn't have to be removed from your life completely, but you can now delegate a little bit better how you prioritize them because you realize when it comes to their priorities, you probably don't make the list. Maybe it's once in a blue moon. And you can, if that relationship, if that works for you, then have that. But you get to decide who takes up space in your life. But stop feeling that you have to work for somebody's love and value, because the truth of the matter is, if you're a solid person, people see that. One of the things my mom also said to me, she was like, people know who treats them well because they always come back. They always come back. And not to compare it to this thing, but like, you feed a stray cat or stray dog. They'll keep coming back to that food, right? Because they know the source of where they're taken care of. Same thing happens in relationships sometimes. That's why nowadays I've learned to not trip, right? I've learned that, hey, who I am is solid. I say who I am. I say that. I stand on it. My words match my actions, and my actions match my patterns. All right? So it's like at any given time, if I have doubts, I can take a time to process and see what that is. Is it my doubt, or is it me being doubtful about this relationship? And then I move from there. Because truth be told, people will come back around. And you get to decide where they have access or what access they have in general, right? Just focus on working on who you are. That's it. And I want to use this idea for you when it comes to seeing people for who they are versus who you hope for them to be. Say we're sitting down for tea. I come with my hydro flask and you or the other person has a teacup, right? I decide to pour from my hydro flask into this little teacup. And I'm expecting them to pour from their teacup into my hydro flask. but I'm expecting the quantity or the amount that they pour is the quantity of a Hydro Flask. Does that make sense? Sometimes we think because, oh, this is what I would do, or this is what I have the capacity to do, that other people have the same capacity for us. And that's not true. Some people are teacups. And you walk around with this Hydro Flask because you have the capacity to pour and keep pouring. But sometimes your Hydro Flask in itself has cracks in it. And it leaks out. And you don't even know where it's leaking. So while you're pouring, you realize you're still feeling pretty empty. Right? While you were overextending yourself, there's still this realization that something's just not right. I'm drained. Some people are different cups in your life, okay? And we're not always going to be met with who we are. And when we do, it's rare, okay? But you get to decide how you pour, where you pour. Okay? And sometimes it's cool to step back. Like I said, sometimes it's necessary. That's all good, right? So keep that in mind moving forward. If you see yourself as a Hydro Flask, you're always trying to be everything for everybody else. Check your Hydro Flask. Make sure there aren't cracks in it, because sometimes people are looking for an ice cold beverage and you're pouring tea, right? Sometimes people are not asking us to pour into them, but we feel obligated to do so. Stop that. Your value is not dependent on how much you're willing to give at any given moment. Stop thinking that people are going to forget you if you're not doing the most for them. Stop thinking that you won't matter because you don't have anything to offer. Because if that's the case, great. You now know what the relationship is founded on and you can move accordingly. All right? Stop thinking that you will be forgotten about or you won't matter because you are not making it a point to make everybody else matter to you all the time at the same time. Remove that. You're going to be valued no matter what by people who value you. If the support is there, the support is there. Okay? On to that. Stop worrying about being liked. Move it to this year, not worrying about if people like you or not. Because being liked doesn't pay your bills. Okay? I'm not saying go around being a dick. Don't be an asshole. Please. Don't be an asshole because it's like, yeah, people won't like you and it doesn't taste well. Like, don't be an asshole. But what I'm saying to you is don't worry about being liked all the time. Because you don't like everybody and not everybody is meant to like you. And not everybody should like you. And the reason being is because if everybody likes you, that means that you keep adjusting to everybody's needs and wants and compromising your own and compromising your truest self. Who cares if everybody likes you? Because if they're not liking you enough to value, then it doesn't matter. If people don't have the decency to even just check and see how you are and they're in your circle of people, who gives a shit? They don't like you enough to value you. Move forward not worrying about whether or not people like you. Okay? Because if you do your thing and you're your most authentic self, you will find your people. And they'll find you. And that's what the relationship is going to be founded on. Right? And take a look at your relationships now. What holds them together? What's the foundation of those relationships? If you stop trying, if you stop making it a point to keep doing everything, what would that relationship look like? Allow there to be room for people to be themselves so you can see what the relationship is. And you can stop doing all these cuts. You could just remove the weeds, right? Get in the habit of developing a better relationship with yourself. I know we go around telling people what our love languages are. What is your love language and how do you show up for yourself? What's your self-destructive behavior? Look into that. Okay? This new year moving forward is going to be about the relationship with yourself. Because once you have that down and you do the uncomfortable work, you'll stop expecting people to do work that they are not qualified to do. And that's love you properly. Okay? That's value you properly before you value yourself. It's like, hey, I'm handing you this key to my mansion. I'll give you the keys for it. Are you kidding me? That's your house. That's your responsibility. You have the master key. All right? Main character energy. You can't be the main character in the side character at the same time. Focus on what your life needs to progress. Okay? When you kind of set into and I'm going to geek out with you guys for a little bit. So one of my favorite games is Final Fantasy. And it's an RPG. It's a role-playing game for people that don't know what that is. And you go on these quests and you just grow as a character. You level up. You have, you acquire weapons. You acquire food, resources, whatever the case may be. And you have characters on your team, but you are the main character. These other characters switch in and out, but you are still the main character. And they aid you in your journey, right? That's how you have to see life. You are the main character in your own life. You are the driver in your own life. You cannot leave it up to other people to be the main character in your life. Somebody is not really showing up properly. All right, dope. You get to decide, hey, does this feel good and does this work for me? Yes or no? Does this work in my life? Because it works in theirs. That's why they haven't changed. It works for them. It works for them in their life because they're the main character in their life and they move accordingly. And that's cool. So now you have to be the main character. Okay? Be the main character on your own shit. And keep it pushing. When it comes to building your house, switch gears from RPG to building a house, you won't know what you need necessarily until you're going through the process of actually building your house. Be okay with the healing journey that you're not completely whole while you are healing. You don't have to be whole while you heal. My friend Mal, she uses the concept of the tool belt. You may not have the right tools. You may not have been given the right tools in life. And you feel that your age or at a certain age, you should know things. Take should out of your vocabulary because that's not true. Should to whose terms? And are they helping you? Right? Or are they just telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing by now? Okay? Because sometimes we are taught by very unskilled people and experiences, and we're learning as we go. And that is okay. Never be ashamed of your experiences. Never be ashamed of your growth process and how you've had to grow a little bit differently from people around you. That's what makes you unique. Okay? You walk through the hardware store, you're like, all right, cool, I need a hammer. I know I need a hammer for this. You go home, you hammer those things in, and you're like, shit, oh, I also need a flathead screwdriver. You go back to the hardware store, you go get a flathead. Maybe you might need some other things while you're there. Oh, if I need a flathead, I probably need these screws, right? Maybe I need a power tool. Maybe I need light to see as well. So let me grab these couple of things while I'm here, and then I'll go back and continue building. Oh shit, I still need this thing. And that's a part of the healing journey. And it may be exhausting because you keep having to return to the hardware store, but that's okay. You are getting and acquiring your tools as you go along. And that's more than okay. Okay? That's more than okay. Let me see. Trusting. If you have self-doubt, sometimes it's cool to trust a relationship over your doubt. Okay? If you have fear of abandonment, or whatever the case may be, sometimes you will create or recreate the scenario to a self-fulfilling prophecy, in other words. Right? Again, it's that whole cutting before you get rejected. Sometimes it's good to just see people's patterns. and trust that. If you have doubt about the relationship, you have to ask yourself, is this true? Has this person given me a reason to doubt them, or am I looking for it? Those are two very different things. Okay? So sometimes if you can't trust yourself, there are very few times where you can trust the patterns of a relationship. Trust that people will always show you their most authentic selves. People will readily offer that up. People will always show you who they truly are, and you can rely on that. So get into that habit, okay? If I can't trust myself in this moment, can I trust a relationship? Can I trust discernment? Okay? That's important. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to be, despite what happened. Write that down. I am not my experiences. I am the person who I choose to become, despite my experiences. Okay? Yeah, let's see. Let me just move down to this list. I feel like I covered a lot. I hope it makes sense so far, guys. I really just wanted to give you guys like practical, like I said, practical things to think about into the new year. If you have like certain goals financially in business, how can you start small, right? How can you tackle those big ideas and those big goals? What can you do starting now, even before it becomes a new year? How can you start now? If you have gym goals, fitness goals, how can you start now? Seek out a trainer. If you need guidance through life, seek out a coach. I'm both. I'm officially both. So it's like, if you need help along your journey, hit me up. Email me at thebirdbrainpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah. If that's something that's important to you, how do you get on the ball for your goals? How do you take care of yourself in those moments, right? Like when it comes to finances and stuff like that, budgeting, okay? Asking questions, doing Google research, being clear about your goals. Because I think, it's good to have dreams and goals, but if you're not working on them, then it's just a thought. It's just your imagination. Right? There needs to be work and effort in place behind the things that you seek to accomplish. And it's hard and it's daunting, but it's like, take it in little pieces. Don't try to figure out the wheel overnight, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel overnight. Take it in small bites. And like I said, sometimes it's exhausting, but you have to make the decision. Am I going to do this? Yes or no? If it's yes, then I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to show up. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask for help. If you have a hard time asking for help, then start doing that. Let that be your goal this year. Ask for help. I'm saying you may not always receive it, but even if you don't receive help, ask yourself, am I asking last minute, right? Am I waiting until the very last minute to help? Where it's like I'm under duress, I'm stressed out, I now need help, and now no one's available to help me. So whose fault is that? Accountability is going to be a big thing moving forward. Be accountable for what you're accountable for. Hold yourself accountable, right? Hold yourself to that standard, okay? Let's see. Become a better listener. And this may be hard, right? But become a better listener. Get to know people, because that's the only way you're going to truly know what your relationship is. Get in the habit of listening and active listening. Some people are just waiting for their turn to talk versus like actually taking in the information that they're receiving. Some people are just eager to talk and to be heard. Be a better listener. All right. And like I said, can you allow yourself to be whole while you heal? Instead of saying that you're broken, instead of saying that, oh, I'm a fuck up, or I'm this, or I don't deserve this. Even in dating, like the thing about dating that I've realized too is like, you don't become a perfect person first and then start dating. It's like, you kind of learn who you are and you grow as a person through dating. And dating doesn't mean like constantly like going on all these dates, but just kind of being in the space of wanting to have a relationship. Write down some things that are important to you, like what you need from a relationship, what's important, what's a non-negotiable. Write out a list, okay? Be clear about that list and be firm on it. These are my standards in terms of my relationships. And go from there, okay? Let's see. Have good intentions for yourself. You have to be on your own team moving forward. What I mean by that is you have to be your own coach, and everybody else is an assistant to you, assistant coaches. Even if you have a life coach, whatever, they are an assistant to you being on your own team. You saying that, hey, I want to be better, so I'm seeking out teammates to help me grow. Okay? You have to be on your own team this year. You have to have the best intentions for yourself, right? Being willing to reevaluate relationships, being willing to look at your toxic behaviors in your relationship with yourself. You have to be on your own team. Write that down. I have to be on my own team before I expect somebody else to be. And I can't be on the team of people who are not on my team. Right? How the hell are you going to cheer for the opposing team and you look at your team and you're like, damn, their morale sucks. I wonder why. Well, no shit, because you're not cheering your team on. All right? Be on your own team. Okay. Again, don't overplay your role in somebody else's life. Don't overextend. Don't overplay your role. You got work to do. You're the main character in your life. Don't try to be the main character in somebody else's life, because that's never going to happen. And if you're a people pleaser or you have, self-esteem issues, sometimes you are seeking validation, or a lot of time, if not all the time, your relationships are in hopes that somebody finally sees and values you. See yourself. And the better you see yourself, the better you'll see the relationship that you cultivate. What are they founded on? Okay. Understand that letting go sometimes is the best decision. And stand firm on that. Understand why you let go. Okay. And understand that letting go frees up your hands for the things that you are actually seeking. Your hands aren't full, so you can now grab hold on to what you actually are seeking. All right. People are going to be who they're going to be. Accept that. Outside of your influence, people are always going to be what they want to be. And you should allow that. You allow that. Allow people to be who they are authentically without you trying to force control or change it. Because sometimes, our goal is that, okay, if I'm this or I'm this, it'll hopefully change this person. You can't change people. You cannot change people. You can influence them. You may even inspire them, but you cannot literally change another person. People have to want to change. Okay? You can't do it for them. And that's great. That's an amazing thing. Let me see if I have anything else. Hold on. We're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit the new year running, and a weekend or so, you kind of like, all right, I haven't done anything I said I was gonna do, or nothing seems to be going the way that I thought it would be, and now I feel like a failure, or there was no point, or I'm not being realistic, yada yada yada. And it's like, the truth of the matter is like, are you giving yourself practicality? Are you giving room for you to be present in your goals, in your pursuit, in your traumas? Hold on to your worth. Hold firm to that. And move with that in mind. My worth is not contingent on whether or not somebody sees it. My worth is my worth. My worth is my work. Okay. And also to understand that it's okay to seek out spaces where you are being cared for. That's the point. We all have that. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let somebody make you feel guilty for seeking friendship or relationship. It's just about how you seek it, right? How do you seek attention? Are you forcing things? You should never feel bad about wanting friendship. You should never feel bad about wanting a relationship or connection. Never feel bad about that. And at the same time, ask yourself, how am I going about it? What does that look like? You know, am I trying to force myself and insert? And what does that do? And why? Right? Take your time to ask yourself, what kind of relationships am I seeking to cultivate? All right. But never feel guilty for wanting to have relationships. We need those to build and grow. But you need a healthier relationship with yourself more than anything. Okay? Advocate for what's important to you and stand on it. Advocate for what's important to you. Be clear about it. You know, be firm about it and move from there. If people are not kind of on the same page, then they got to go. That's it. They got to go. You shouldn't have to work that hard. You know, advocate for what's important to you and stand on that. If you doubt yourself, find the truth in it. See if you can find out if there's truth to your doubt. You don't feel like you're worth it. Where's the truth in that? You don't feel like you deserve to have certain things. Where's the truth in that? Seek it out. See if you can find it. Right? See if you can find it. Like tangible evidence. I want you to play detective with your self-doubt and your self-deprecation moving forward and your self-sabotage. Where's the truth in those things? Find it. See if you can find it. Because I guarantee you probably can't. And that's the thing. Sometimes we're more afraid of success. Okay? People say they fear failure. No, I think a lot of times people fear success because they haven't even given themselves the opportunity to actually fail. So they don't try. So it's not that we fear failure, it's that we fear success. Okay? Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Let's see. Writing that down, guys. Let's see. The next one. Gratitudes. You have to implement those into your life. Some people are just negative. I'm going to put it out there. Some people are just negative. They find the negative in everything, and that's their work to do. But don't let that filter into who you are and what you've worked for. So write 5 gratitudes. I do 5 gratitudes a night. I've talked about that on this podcast. I slacked off these last 2 months. But yeah, I typically do 5 gratitudes every night. And every day's different because every day is different. I could be sitting home and my gratitude list will look different between the 2 days. And that's real. Okay. Yeah. Work on your belief system when it comes to who you are. Unpack that. Stop running on autopilot when it comes to your belief system. Get to the root of what it is that you feel and think and find the truth in it. See if you can find the truth in that. Why do I move this way? Who told me that I am not allowed to have feelings or express myself or say when something makes me feel uncomfortable? Who said that? Who said that? And why do they have decision over my value? Why do I think that they have decision over my value? Is it true? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, what are you going to do about it? So what now? Okay? It's not so much about just realizing things. It's about also implementing practices, small practices. You know, if you're in a heated argument or in an uncomfortable conversation, stop yourself. Be like, hey, I don't want to talk about this right now. This doesn't make me feel good. Or, hey, this didn't make me feel good. Be okay with making other people uncomfortable. Especially if you're trying to keep the peace at your own expense. You know, it is not your job to take on somebody else's discomfort after they made you feel uncomfortable. Stop doing that. You deserve to take up space just like they do. Okay? Stop it. I say that with love. Let me see. Refuse to exist in company that feels like another job. Stop working to be loved and valued. I can't stress that enough. Once you stop doing that, shit's going to change for you so much. Your relationships are going to change. I'm just telling you that right now. Stop working. Make effort. Show love. Show up authentically. Have your standards. Don't expect you from people. But yeah, stop working to be valued by other people, because either people value you or they don't. And that has nothing to do with your value. Go where you are valued. Okay? Let me see. I think that's it. Guys. Like I said, this has been a year for me. This has been truly a year, a force to be reckoned with. And I've grown so much because I had to. I had no choice but to grow this year, guys. I really had no choice but to heal. And I'm going to keep doing that. Right? And I'm not going to wait for permission for somebody else. I'm going to do my thing because I'm good at it. And I'm just going to figure it out along the way. I'm going to love people how I want to be loved, but also too, I'm going to have boundaries. I'm going to continue to have boundaries. I'm going to have a standard for what relationships look like in my life. And I'm going to keep those standards, right? I'm going to have uncomfortable conversations. I'm going to continue to have uncomfortable conversations when necessary. Not everything in my life, I think, in my opinion, not every situation needs to have a conversation because somebody's actions is communication enough in terms of who they are. Okay? And I'm going to continue to be on my own team. Right? I'm going to continue to be on my own team. Ask for help. Ask questions. Do the research. Budget. Like financially budget and emotionally budget. Have a budget for yourself this year. What does my budget look like emotionally and what does it look like financially? Protect your fucking peace, guys. I mean that. Your peace is not for sale. Ever. Take care of your peace. That's it. Okay? Once you respect your peace, you're a little bit more picky about who you share it with, but also, too, you're more mindful of other people's peace. Let that be your driving force this year. All right? Guys, let's move into the new year with a little bit more trajectory, a little bit more confidence in ourselves, so much more love for ourselves. And we go from there. All right? Hope you guys have an amazing new year. Thank you guys for being a part of this amazing year for me. It really means a lot. It's a big deal. And I can't thank you guys enough. It's been amazing. And all the people I've come to know or exchange conversation with, that's truly been a blessing. You know, it's been insight for me, and it's just been a reminder that who I am is who I am, and people value that. And sometimes the support doesn't come from your backyard, and it's okay to leave your backyard. All right, you guys have been great. I'm sending you guys all the love. And we just move forward this year, and we level up, and we continue to shine. All right, we take up space in this world because we deserve to. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Happy New Year. Take flight.